Hello, my name is Leanna Money, and this is my partner.
Hi, I'm Lillian Fazi.
And today we are going to be presenting on CBT's approach for OCD. And our case focuses on Kayla Mann, who is a 24-year-old college student who grew up as a middle child in a structured, achievement-oriented household where emotional restraint was strongly emphasized. So they weren't really encouraged to be expressive. They weren't encouraged to talk about their feelings. Um, so from a young age, she really learned to internalize her stress rather than express it, like I said, which this pattern later becomes the foundation of her coping style, which turns into her OCD symptoms. A major turning point in her development occurred at age 8, where we go into the trauma section, when her family survived a Category 4 hurricane that destroyed their home. They lived in a shelter, which with relatives during a rebuilding process. And during this time, it was kind of very traumatic for Kayla. The family tended to downplay emotional reactions and kind of really pushed everyone to move on quickly from the event. Um, Kayla began to experience intrusive fears about safety and contamination due to experiencing such a traumatic event. And she developed early ritualistic behaviors to start regaining a sense of control from that early age after she was 8. Um, and then kind of moving on to her presenting problems, by the time Kayla entered college, these behaviors sort of intensified, and she spends 2 hours every morning checking locks, touching objects until they feel right. So, like the stove, making sure that it's not too hot to the touch before she leaves after making breakfast. She cleans shared spaces excessively and overall avoids contamination. These compulsions significantly impact her sleep, her academics, and her social relationships. Despite this, she demonstrates strong insight into her OCD and how it impacts her and her relationships. And she's able to articulate how kind of trapped she feels inside, how she feels like she's stuck in these symptoms. Um, so yeah, that is the first column. I will let Lillian take it from here.
Awesome. Thank you so much. So, like Leanna was saying about the client insights during sessions, Kayla has shared through examples and experience that she is resilient, motivated, and has definite insight into her life and improving her quality of life. She is continuing with her full time education. And she utilizes simple grounding techniques and has a positive support system. Um, Kayla reflected on the hurricane that had destroyed her home when she was younger and the belongings, and kind of connected the loss of control to her compulsive checking. She does feel that she could not stop the storm, but can stop something from happening in the future if she is careful enough, going back to how Leanna shared with the stove, checking if the stove's too hot before leaving. So this insight did stand out because she framed her compulsions as a trauma response rather than just irrationally. Uh, Kayla also experienced a time when her anxiety was at different levels relating to her compulsions. So that's another pivotal moment when Kayla checked the doorknob only twice instead of her usual ritual of 10 times before leaving. She described that her heart was racing, but instead of going back, she just stood in the hallway, utilized those simple grounding techniques, and decided to just breathe through it. So this showed her anxiety can rise and fall naturally without the compulsive behavior. So these moments definitely highlight a step in her movement from fear to awareness and from control to acceptance. So diagnostic criteria, Kayla does meet the criteria for F42 OCD. She has persistent fear of disaster, contamination, safety, and catastrophe catastrophe, which leads to the repetitive checking, cleaning, and organizing behaviors. These symptoms are not better explained by another mental disorder or substance use, further supporting an OCD diagnosis that meets criterion A through D. We do have a picture of the OCD cycle down there, which shows that the obsessions start and then turn to anxiety, leading to those compulsions, which then relieves the individual. So treatment and outcomes. The CBT framework, CBT as well as medication are the top evidence-based treatments for OCD. Cognitive behavioral therapy, CBT, within a trauma-informed framework can assist one to understand and intervene with Kayla Mann's obsessive compulsive disorder symptoms developed from early rational, relational, control-seeking responses and environmental stressors. CBT would be able to target Kayla's catastrophic thoughts as well as help her separate intrusive thoughts from reality. Compulsions are reframed as misinterpretations of thought, and ERP, which is also
exposure and response prevention,
is a key CBT method that reduces compulsions and builds tolerance to anxiety, and the SSRIs or medication can reduce intrusive thoughts and overall anxiety. And then we have our treatment goals listed.
Yeah, to kind of highlight what Lillian explained with the framework, based on Kayla's presenting symptoms and her high level of insight and motivation to change, her treatment plan would focus around the cognitive behavioral therapy with exposure and response prevention. And these treatment goals listed are to help her reduce her compulsive checking and cleaning, increase her tolerance for uncertainty, and interrupt the cycle of intrusive thoughts leading to compulsion. We want this treatment plan and these goals to help her improve her functioning and her academic performance by reducing these perfectionistic rituals, like rereading assignments, supporting healthier sleep routines, not staying up too late to complete assignments, decreasing social strain caused by cleaning shared spaces, kind of helping her improve her relationships with her roommates. We also want to really help her strengthen her skill with using grounding techniques and cognitive restructuring strategies so she can really interpret these intrusive thoughts, really explore what they mean, and kind of help realize that they're not indicators of real danger. These goals would work together to provide Kayla with to help her build a sense of internal safety, which is something she hasn't really had throughout her childhood, now leading into her adulthood. Over time, hopefully with these goals in this treatment plan, it can help her shift from controlling her environment to managing her anxiety in a more flexible and adaptive way while healing from her traumatic event. Yeah, Lillian.
To end us off, we just want to provide our professional insight with this case study. We can see that Kayla's OCD is tied to trauma and her traumatic event younger at 8, the control and past hurricane-related fear. So her compulsions help her to feel predictability and safety after the earlier chaos. She learned to manage anxiety through control due to her family environment and how she was raised from her parents, as well as being around siblings. Symptoms serve survival needs, not just her irrational fear. So trauma-informed CBT must address both her OCD patterns as well as her emotional meaning behind them. We just want to thank you all for watching our video and thankful that the semester is over.
Thank you, everyone.